Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with Daily Technical Update. It is Thursday the 29th of January. This video is for educational purposes only. There's no recommendation or advice whatsoever. I'm trying to read the market and telling you how I use the tools and indicators so you maybe can learn a little bit from it. But let's start do a recap from what happened in the US market yesterday. The semiconductor index here, the SOX semiconductor ETF, was again higher yesterday, 3.2%. It was partly helped by Nvidia that was up 2%, but it is still struggling here. Yes, it is above the cloud now, but RSI hasn't confirmed a bullish trend. It needs to close back above, and Nvidia is not planned to release earnings until about 4 weeks from now. But it seems like maybe it's turning around a little bit, and it is the smaller ones compared to Nvidia that is pushing the market higher, and we have Intel that has rebounded really strongly here after its disappointing earnings, a sell-off there, and it rebounded. Still positive sentiment, and it's actually indicating we could see higher levels despite the market was a bit disappointed with Intel. So for now, it's still in this bullish trend. Another sector that was doing really well yesterday, actually the best performing sector, was uranium. I'm not going to recommend any companies or anything. I never do that. But uranium was higher in normal trading yesterday. It seems like new all-time highs there. So there are a lot of companies there that are also doing really well. But we also had some other companies coming out with earnings last night that are really worth to look at. We had Microsoft that has bounced here the past week or so, but earnings was disappointing for the market in the aftermarket, and is indicating, and it traded lower in the aftermarket to around 458. So a bit of a setback, a bit of disappointing there from Microsoft. And we see RSI still negative, and it will also be negative when we open later today. Major platforms, on the other hand, traded higher in the aftermarket. The market liked what they came out with, and it was trading 718 around that level where it closed in the aftermarket. So a strong move there indeed, and it seems to really pushing higher here. So let's see how it will behave later later today. Excuse me. Another one that is often overlooked by these Max 7 was actually IBM. That also came out with earnings and jumped significantly in the aftermarket to around 317, so about 7-8% up in the aftermarket. So maybe one should have a look at that. It has been overlooked for quite some time. Again, it's not a recommendation whatsoever. Moving to the overall market, the Nasdaq 100, that was a bit higher yesterday, but opened higher, slided back a little bit. However, RSI closed now back above 60 threshold. We are in a positive sentiment. We are in a bullish trend, indicating likely higher levels in the coming days and weeks going into February. And I still believe we will see a fairly strong bullish market going into February, and maybe until end of February, early March. The pre-market basically unchanged, so let's see how market will react to these earnings. There might also be some earnings before the market opens. Here we can see the future. It's very close to its all-time highs there, just below it, and I think we will see it pushing higher. Positive sentiment also on the strength indicator. S&P 500 recorded higher levels yesterday, but couldn't hold on, so it closed back below the resistance there. But we were above 7,000 for the first time ever. So let's see here in the next few days what it can do. And the pre-market, it seems to at least bouncing a little bit. On the Dow Jones Index future, basically just a sideways range trading here, and needs to get back above 50,000. Well, actually break above 49,900 to reestablish the bullish trend. Russell 2000s, the small caps are struggling a little bit after this top reversal, but it hasn't turned to a bearish trend just yet. In Asian market, Hang Seng pushed higher, as we talked about yesterday. I think it will push higher in the coming days and weeks. Will it reach 30,000 in a couple of weeks? Maybe, just maybe. I'm not quite sure about that, but 29,000 is in sight. We spiked just above 28 to the 138.2 projection of this correction here, and we should see higher levels. Positive sentiment, no divergence, indicating likely higher levels. In Asia, in Japan, Nikkei is still struggling a little bit. Will it make a new high? If it does, well, then there's a much higher potential in store for Nikkei. But for now here, short term, it is struggling, just basically trading sideways. But it is above the rising trend line there. For now, it looks like that. However, here on the weekly, we can see it looks a little bit toppish. Also divergence, you can see the weekly RSI declining. In Europe, we just had EuroStoxx opening. I'm a little bit late this morning. I do apologize about it. I was celebrating a birthday yesterday. So we had EuroStoxx setting back yesterday and bouncing a little bit today. So a little bit cautious. I still believe we'll see higher EuroStoxx levels in the going also into February. But it needs to take out the peak from yesterday at 6,025. If it does that, then we are looking at higher levels. Key support here at 5,800. DAX also yesterday got set back, and it actually continued today. So a little bit cautious there. Could these support levels here at around 24,440 come under pressure? 24,349. That is the key. So we saw that the RSI turning around there too. So it's really struggling at the moment, especially yesterday. I also think maybe there's some earnings coming in. I haven't checked which one we are talking about, oh yeah, let's have a look at this one. SAP, there we are. SAP is being beaten today. It's down 11%, really dragging the DAX index lower. So that one is under massive pressure at the moment. It doesn't look good for SAP. Could fall further, and I think we will see SAP falling further down to around the levels here at 163, it's 164 there. It's in the cards for that, so that can drag DAX a little bit lower. Moving on to the FX market, we had a little bit of correction going on in euro dollar yesterday, almost back to the 38.2 retracement at just above 119. Actually dipped just a little bit below. So and then we bounced, and I think we will keep bouncing here in the coming days and weeks. We are above the falling trend line in this triangle-like pattern there. And as we talked about, and let me just recap, when we look at the monthly, we can see we are above the falling trend line. We are in bullish trend on weekly and monthly, just being held down a little bit with the 200 moving average. So it will take some time. But eventually here, maybe in a couple of months' time, we could be looking at a 124 resistance area for a euro dollar. On the sterling dollar, a little bit of correction yesterday, but also a bullish trend there. Positive sentiment on the RSI, no divergence. Same picture on the weekly. We are in a bullish trend, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, and higher highs now here. And we have a bit of resistance there just around the 142, 143 area here. A little bit 140 just because it's round numbers, and we have the 200 moving average on the weekly coming down there and monthly coming down there, sorry. So it looks quite bullish for the sterling dollar. Also, you see here on the weekly 55, 100 and 200 turning higher. Euro sterling hovering around the 200 moving average there. I still believe we will see it lower towards 86 here after failing to really break above the falling trend line. And we have the 55 coming down now, breaking below the 100. So the underlying trend is to the downside. Some correction going on in the dollar yen just after reaching 38.2, retracement of the entire uptrend there. But The trend is bearish. The sentiment is bearish. We are below the cloud. We are below 55 moving average. We are below 100. There's still a downside potential to around 150, 149 here, where we have the 200 moving average coming up. We also have some support coming back from these correction areas here. So let's see. There's still potential to bounce further, but let's see if it takes out the lows here, then expect a sell-off down to around 150. It is quite volatile at the moment. Maybe there's a little bit calmer weather here and we could see a little bit of a bounce, but trend is bearish, so keep an eye on what's going on. Euro-yen still doing nothing, basically just sliding, crawling a little bit higher, still keeping the bullish trend intact, dipping below a couple of times, but also here exhausted mode, so a little bit boring at the moment. If it takes out the lows here from a few days ago at 181.77-75, then I think we'll see a breakdown to around 180. What was it? 181, yes, 75. Aussie dollar, excuse me, Aussie against the yen, strong bounce, and that is primarily driven by the Aussie dollar that we will look at in a minute, in a couple of minutes, bouncing here, and now it is 786 retracement of this correction there. So if it takes out the peak there, which I believe it could do, we are still in a bullish trend despite the fact the strength indicator is declining, but for now, as we stay above 106, then I think we will see higher levels towards 110, possibly 111. Sterling yen also bounced here yesterday, continuing to do so, have taken back half of the sell-off there, and the RSI is still in a positive sentiment, but I would say in a neutral position. There is divergence here, but as long as we stay above 209.80, well, then there is potential for further bounce to the upper side on sterling yen. Aussie dollar pushed higher, continuing to push higher. We can see here on the weekly, and there is not much strong resistance now until around 71, 71.35 and then 71.50, and I think that's where we are headed at the moment, and then we could see a correction kicking in. Very overbought at the moment, but no divergence, so it's not in balance, but I think we could see a push up there to around 71.50 area before correction is likely to kick in. Dollar Canada keeps dropping, now taking out this support there at 135.55, taking out here also on the weekly, and seems destined to push to 134 support area, and I think we will see that being played out here the next few days, and then we could see a correction being kicked in. Negative sentiment on both weekly and daily, indicating further likely sell-off. Sterling Canada, well, it is in a bullish trend, just setting back a little bit. I still believe we will see it higher if it takes out the peak here from a couple of days ago, 188.15. Then expect to move up to around 189, 189.50. We can see here on the weekly, still in a bullish trend, just had a bit of a correction going on, but above the 55 moving average weekly there, and the cloud area that is also bullish. Euro Swiss bounced a little bit yesterday, not that much, but a little bit still in a bearish trend. And I think we'll see Euro Swiss pushing lower in the coming days and weeks. We are in a bearish trend, as we can see here on the weekly. We are back to 2015 levels that we have. As we can see, we have to go back all the way to 2015, that when they removed the floor or the ceiling, depending which way you're looking at it, on Euro Swiss. Dollar Swiss. Dollar Swiss bounced a little bit, but hasn't bounced all the way up to 38.2 retracement there at 77.65. Can still do it, but as we can see, we are also in a bearish trend there on Euro Swiss on the weekly and the monthly. Also pointing lower, so eventually I think we will drop lower. I will remove this one because it reached the 200% of this one, more or less bang on, and it's just distorting the picture now. But there is potential lower, as we can see, and it's actually below the 2015 dip here, and the 2011 also down here, further down, and that's why we are talking about 80, around 80. And around, what are you talking, lows at 70, so that's 6 big figures from it. The dollar index, also a little bit of bounce, and let me remove this 200% that it reached there, so it's a little bit obsolete now, a little bit of correction, but also bearish trend. And if the dollar index closes the week in around these levels below the spike downs here and below the rising trend line, well, it will further add to the fact that the dollar index is in a bearish trend. Also on medium term, negative sentiment already there, so there is potential down to 93.25. I actually think it will drop even further here on the medium term, down to around 90. This is not the strongest support. There's a little bit at the 200, but I think we will see it dropping lower to around $90. The excuse me, the gold is pushing even higher now, and it really pushing higher, and I don't have a target because it reached my targets at 54 and 5500. It's like there's really panic going on, and what we can see now is that the RSI has cancelled its divergence. So yes, we are extremely overbought. We are up at 90 plus on the RSI, and remember, can only go to 100. There's nothing, it can't go above, beyond that, above that. And I think we will see a correction kicking in anytime soon, but then I think we will see higher levels after a correction. And so be careful out there. What I will do, I will have a quick look, which I normally never do doing this, but we can see here on the hourly chart, maybe it is warming up for a correction, but it was also there and then it took off again. But be careful. I think we will see a correction kicking in, and then it will take off again. So when we have a little bit of correction going on, then we can calculate further upside potential. But it's really stretched here. You can see just on the monthly, it's insane. Also here you can see the RSI on the monthly, 96. Extremely stretched, so extremely stretched on the strength indicator there on the on gold. I would be very cautious. We had a bit of correction here in silver a few days ago, and we can calculate a new target, new all-time high there. It spiked just above 120. I think we could see it to 130, but again, very stretched. We actually do have some divergence building up. You can see RSI declining there compared to here. So uptrend exhaustion. And look at this also on the monthly here. 95 on the RSI monthly. It is extreme levels. Same on the weekly. And we maybe have a bit of divergence building up there on silver too. On the weekly, so really straight. So be careful out there if you are long, or if you are entering long positions on silver. I would be very cautious and be ready to stop out before maybe a larger correction could kick in. Platinum struggling a little bit after its correction, but it has potential to push higher if it stays above 2468. If it moves back below there, well, we could see a correction down to around 2150 area, but for now the bullish trend is intact. But as we can see, there is a divergence also building up there, or it's already there. Copper, massive move here in early session in Asia, 6.5% higher, pushing higher, which I did anticipate. I talked about it yesterday, it probably would do that. And RSI back above the falling trend line and back above 60 threshold, indicating likely higher levels. There is some divergence, as you can see, but this one pushed higher and took to the 138 projection. I think we'll see higher levels on copper in the coming weeks. We can also see here on the weekly, it's about to cancel its divergence here or imbalance on the strength indicator. I think we'll see higher copper levels in the medium term also. Also higher levels on crude oil here, light sweet WTI crude oil, pushing towards 66, 65 resistance area, and I think we will reach that in a couple of days, maybe before the weekend or early next week, and then maybe a little bit of a correction, but the overall trend on the weekly, you can see it has been turned around here, very close to also going positive on the weekly sentiment. So let's see about that. Brent crude oil also pushing higher, just below the first resistance there at 69.75. I think we will see it pushing higher in the coming days and weeks here. Also, we can see on the weekly above the 55 moving average, pushing up to around 70, where we have the cloud on the weekly, and we have this resistance area here, but positive sentiment on the RSI on daily, indicating likely higher levels. Nat gas correction time, we had European nat gas setting back to the support here at 35.40, and then we had a bounce this morning, so we could be stuck in this range here for a little bit, depending on how long the winter is continuing here in Europe, also in mid and southern Europe, but especially northern Europe. It is pretty cold at the moment, colder than what we expected. So elevated levels on the nat gas. And moving on to the US nat gas, this is the March future where we're trading at the moment. So rejected here around the 786 retracement, just around $4, setting back a little bit, but we can see the 100 and the 55 moving average giving some support here, and we are positive sentiment, so we could see it pushing higher in the coming days. Moving on to the interest rates and yields, we have the US 10-year Treasury yields, as we talked about past few days, is bouncing off support, bullish trend. And I still believe we'll see it 435, 440 here within a few weeks. Let's have a look at European yields. They are sitting back a little bit, testing the lower rising trend line there. Still bullish trend, but it hasn't followed through to 292 here. We should be happy about that, but I'm afraid we could see it doing it here in the next few days. Let's see about, especially if energy prices will stay at elevated levels. That could spill into the inflation numbers. UK 10-year above resistance there at 454, establishing a bullish trend. RSI above the 60 threshold, indicating likely higher levels. So we could see the UK 10-year Treasury yields pushing towards 462, 465 resistance area. Japanese 10 still in a bullish trend, taking a little bit of a breather after spiking to 238. Still above its rising trend line, positive sentiment indicating likely higher levels in the next few weeks. The crypto market is fairly quiet, just stepping sideways. Maybe it's waiting for what's really is going on in the stock market, especially in US and with the tech stocks, but it is struggling to really turn this around. So we are in a slightly bearish trend there, but key support 84,400. Yes, if it breaks below that, well, then I think we'll be hit by a massive sell-off. Same picture on Ethereum, really. The support here 2770 and especially 2635. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and be careful out there.